The festival, Panagiri. Erdan had settled comfortably in his favourite spot. He was propped against an old olive tree at the top of the hill. A baby goat, hardy and lean, was sprawled on his lap, sleeping peacefully. Breathing in and out, the goat generated a soothing warmth to go with its reassuring heartbeat. The rest of Erdan's flock were around their goat herd, chomping at shrubs and wild grass. And when they weren't chomping, they were bleating their contentment. Ah, goats were such fine beasts, thought Erdan. You could thrive on their dependency, gain strength from their unconditional devotion. Humans, by contrast, were too selfish and unreliable. They created only problems and heartache. From this high vantage point, Erdan had a panoramic view of the whole village stretched out way before him. Less than half a mile away. It was a familiar sight. Home. To the left, Erdan could make out the bell tower of the church of St. Barnabas the Apostle. To the right, the minaret of the small village mosque. And dotted around them, the whitewashed houses belonging to devoted followers of either religion, as well as the more numerous not-so-devoted followers. From Erdan's point of view, all the houses looked the same. It was only when you got closer that you sensed things weren't as they should be. Erdan didn't like getting too close. It was safer and more peaceful up here against the olive tree. However, on this particular day, as the light began to fade, the developing differences in the village appeared to have been set aside. A concoction of lively sounds carried through the evening air and up to Erdan's appreciative ear. Below, on the main road into the village, the goat herd could see people from other villages approaching. The festival had begun, and all were coming to share in the harmony. All except Erdan. Erdan leant back until his head rested against the bark of the olive tree. He recalled that some time ago he'd used his knife to carve two names into it, his own and that of a local girl, a rare beauty, now in full bloom. She was slender, with a rich complexion, straight brown hair, and striking green eyes. How Erdan longed for her. He glanced down, and he could still make out the now fading letters of her name. F-U-N-D-A, Funda. Some years ago, Erdan had rescued her younger brother Zeki after the boy had fallen from a tree. If it hadn't been for Erdan carrying him to the village Christian doctor, the boy might have died. In the event, Zeki's leg had been damaged beyond repair, but at least Zeki had lived, and for that people had Erdan to thank. Funda had Erdan to thank, and she did so by always showing kindness to the goat herd. More kindness than some of the others showed. Erdan smiled. How wonderful Funda was. How she enjoyed getting attention. No doubt she'd be singing tonight. She was a born performer, with the voice of an angel. Erdan also knew some of the bolder boys of the village were now showing a keen interest. And it wasn't just the Muslims who were attracted to her. So, how could a poor, simple goat herd compete? Some of those young men had well-paid jobs. Jobs in administration, in construction, in the auxiliary police. Well, surely it was only a matter of time before one lucky young man's family would make Funda's father the right proposition. Only a matter of time before Erdan's heart would be broken for good. Andoni returned from inside the now crowded coffee shop with a tray containing 2 small cups of coffee and 2 tall glasses of water. He saw that Nigos had sat at a table near the door with a backgammon set in front of him. Andoni frowned and gestured to his friend to join him at another free table with a clear view of the square, the focus of this evening's festivities. Nigo raised his hand to indicate his reluctance to move. But after a moment he went over and sat opposite Andoni, bringing with him the backgammon set, and sighing. Andoni sat facing the square, now thronging with people. The usual sellers were offering the people a variety of delicacies. Shamishin, melomagaronia, and sticks of sucukos. Small crowds had gathered around numerous performers. two older men squared up for a traditional chatisman, a battle of wits through poetry and music. Each clever riposte was greeted with hoots and laughter from the audience, which Andoni noticed, including Nigo's brother Yannis and his betrothed, Martha. Though in truth, the pair appeared more interested in each other than in the chatisman. Yanni looked for any excuse to touch Martha, to wipe a blemish from her cheek, to remove a loose thread from her blouse. She was happy to oblige him. A group of younger men performed acrobatic dances to whistles and clapping from a different audience, which Andoni noticed included Nigo's sister Stella. She was with her friends, and they were clicking their fingers and taking up provocative poses. Stella was a petite, pretty girl with long dark hair and a distinctive mole on her cheek, which always drew Andoni's eyes. Andoni was aware that Stella had an admirer, a largish boy called Loucas, from a neighbouring village. Loucas was innocently flirting with her this evening. Andoni was happy for Stella, though he knew in truth that she would rather have been flirting with him. At the far side of the square, a Garagazu show was underway, delighting a crowd of young children. People who passed by the coffee shop acknowledged young Andoni, the tailor, as the man who'd retrieved the cross from the sea earlier that day. As was customary, they congratulated him and wished him long life. With a proud smile, Andoni the tailor thanked them, shaking hands and revelling in his moment of glory. He noticed, however, that Nigo was becoming increasingly irritated. After the pair had finally been left alone, Nigo took out some tobacco and started rolling himself a cigarette. He offered the tobacco and papers to Andoni, who declined. Nigo huffed and ran a hand through his unruly, thick black hair. "What's wrong, Nigo?" asked Andoni, looking at his friend, flirting with concern. "Sorry, what's wrong, Nigo?" asked Andoni, looking at his friend with concern. Nigo's frown didn't suit his chiseled features. "Nothing," lied Nigo, lighting his cigarette and blowing smoke into the tailor's face. "Yes, I know you're nothing. Those hunched shoulders, the knotted brow, the invisible lower lip. Why is nothing having this effect on you then?" asked Andoni affectionately. Today the tailor could solve any problem. "Well, I just don't think it's right, Andoni," Nikos explained, gesturing to the crowds in the square. "People singing and dancing and laughing, not the way things are." "Oh, would you rather they cried instead of laughed?" "Until we are free, what's there to laugh about?" Andoni smiled mischievously. "Come on, let's rejoice, Nigo. Look, isn't today the day the Lord was baptized in the River Jordan?" Nigo scoffed. Since when did you believe in all that nonsense the priest chants?" "It makes my mama and my brother happy. And look at all the people, Nigomu. It makes them happy. Why can't you be happy too?" "Ha! You don't have to live with what I have to live with." Andoni sighed. Come on. Let it go for a while, huh? Let yourself go for a while," he urged, tapping his friend fondly on the shoulder. Nigo looked at Andoni, and though Nigo's mouth gave way to a smile, his frown remained. "You're just jealous that your friend's the brave hero tonight," teased Andoni. "Ha! Brave enough to take me on a tavlin? Challenge then?" challenged Nikos. "Open up the backgammon set." Andoni indicated his reluctance to play by raising his eyebrows and lifting his chin. Nikos could not disguise his disappointment, but his friend ignored it. Andoni was too preoccupied with the scene in the square, and in particular with a young Muslim woman who had just arrived, accompanied by a boy hobbling on a pair of wooden crutches. The girl wore a long red skirt down to her ankles and a white long-sleeved blouse. She had full red lips and straight, thick brown hair, mostly hidden by a white headscarf. Andoni's heart pumped. She had been there at the shore earlier that day when he dived into the sea. She had been there afterwards to kiss him on either cheek and to wish him a long life.